Okay, good morning and welcome this beautiful Tuesday morning to Land House and Radio Show, your number one real estate show on your preferred. Like, let me start once again. The preferred, most reliable. Let me go and speak English that and then the preferred online gospel radio. That is Lagoonradio, of course. And yes, we're broadcasting live from the Bishop's Palace at Marina. And yes, you can follow us on our social media platform. On Facebook, it is Lagoon Radio Nigeria. On Instagram and on Twitter, it is Lagoon Radio NG. And also, you can watch us live on YouTube. That is www. Abi? Is it www? On YouTube, it is LagoonTV. And then on the website, it is... Why is this one shaking? And you can listen to us on www.lagoonradio.ng. What else do we have? Producer. What else do we have? Okay, so those are social media platforms, and yeah, you can also download the app on Apple Store and also on the Google Play Store. My name is Ariola Ajanaku Olumakaiye, and I'm your host. So welcome this beautiful Tuesday morning. And yes, happy Women's Day. Let me say it again. Happy International Women's Day to all the beautiful women out there. Whether you have your child, whether you don't have a child, even a 1-year-old child, happy International Women's Day to every one of us, because it's not easy. And when people asked me, someone asked me yesterday and said, "What is it about this International Women's Day?" I said, "You know what it means when hormone is playing on you? Or do you know when it is when you have to think about your child, you have to think about your school?" I mean, like, everybody faces different things at the same time, but the most important thing is we have hormones running through us. In fact, for people that have now grown to the age of that have passed the teenage age, let's just say from teenagers upwards, when their period is coming and all this bas, it's not easy. So don't look at women. In fact, if you decide that every month we want to greet ourselves Happy International Women's Day, we are greeting ourselves Happy International Women's Day. So Happy International Women's Day to every woman out there, every girl, child, everyone out there that is a female. We greet you. Well done, and more energy, more bones, and everything to you. You don't want flags? Raise the flags, fly it above anyone. Don't look at anything. That's like equality, and look, fly your fly so high and do everything you want to do. So today, I'm happy that the show is coming on International Women's Day, and as a woman, I'm greeting myself also. So today, we're going to be talking about inflation and then what it has to do with real estate. What inflation has to do with real estate. I have my producer here with me. She's in this peace sign, okay? So, Simidele, okay, she's here. It's Happy International Women's Day, and also to Jennifer from afar, Happy International Women's Day. She's also doing the peace sign. So we're going on a quick break, and then when we're right back, we're talking about inflation and what it has to do with real estate. Okay, welcome back to the show. And then, yes, we're going to be talking about real estate and then inflation, what it has to do with inflation and how it's related to real estate. Real estate is a good edge for inflation. It's only, if only it was as simple as it is. I mean, when we talk about inflation and we're talking about real estate, a lot of people feel, oh, okay, it's a good time for me to invest. And I'm even going to come back to that, because a lot of people just message me and say, you're not looking at the economy, you're telling me to come and buy it. So it's understandable at this point when we know that the economy is not stable. So inflation, how does it relate to the relationship between inflation and real estate? Sadly, not all real estate is created equally, and also not all inflation is created equally. With inflation rising and economic growth slowing, it is important to understand that some of the geographical and sectoral manners that will be on dispute the relative performance of real estate assets, especially if inflation proves to be less transitory than we are told. So over time, for some months now, we have the exchange rate affecting us, and then when people want to invest, the most important thing they want to look at is what is the future of that place. What does it look like if I invest now? What's going to happen in the next 2-3 years? Am I going to be able to get my ROI, and all of that comes in place? And it's not easy when you have to invest and you're not seeing your ROI. So I understand when people are complaining about the whole inflation rising and the economy not being stable. It's being defined as continuing for only a short period of time. That is the transitory, and has become the defining adjective used by policymakers to describe the current inflationary environment. And for those people that have been involved, for a point, like, it's increasingly partisan debate, and there's a debate whether there's a right or a wrong way to go. And for those who follow such things, inflation hawks, like they call them, point to the massive monetary stimulus. So there are times that you have to actually contact an economist to help you break down the cost of buying that property, and what do you call it, forecasting. When you forecast the property, the environment at that period of time. Personally, I would say that if you believe in land banking, that's when you should actually go to some particular areas and buy it. But then, if you do not believe in land banking, and then you should also ensure that you are checking out the policies of the estate or wherever you're buying it from, whoever you're buying it from. There are some estates now that tell you to do immediate development. So when they're telling you to do immediate development, there's really no option of you having a land banking option there. I mean, you cannot buy and leave it for so many years. So you should actually go to a place where you can do your land banking, and then by doing so, that's when you're actually moving at par with the inflation rising, and then the economy not being stable. You would know that at some point you're going to actually get your ROI. But if you're buying it at a price, and especially for my people that are in diaspora, if you're buying it at a price now that you feel, oh, it's outrageous, please kindly hold on. Like right now, I know a few people that have bought, and then 2 years after, they're asking me, Ari, look at this thing. I bought this so land 2 years ago, and with the rising price of the exchange rate, I've really not seen any ROI. I understand how it feels. I know how it is, and then really, we're only praying that the economy stables, and like we have a stable economy. And trust me, it's not just Nigeria. The economy generally is not stable anywhere in any country, and that's due to the whole COVID-19 pandemic era. So it's just a how they say it. The Bible says there's time and season for everything. There's a season when things will be slow. There's also a season where it would rise up. So just hold on, hang in there. If you're a real estate investor, you should always know that all those times and season come in place. And yes, so the aftermath of COVID-19 actually affected it, as so many data proved proved it to be. And the sharp rising in inflation has also underpinned by perfect factor, including the rapid rebound in economy activities. That's the rising energy prices, the supply and bottleneck, and all of this. I think in the last 3 weeks, we've had the whole oil price, in fact, it's not only in Nigeria. So that one, I can even tell you, like my friend, I was speaking to someone outside Nigeria, and she was saying to me that, "Honey, it's not as bad as we have it in Nigeria, but we also have oil issues." I mean, when we say oil, that's fuel. So the prices in all of this, the bottleneck, and then importing things for the developers also affects real estate. I mean, when you're buying a house and then daily you're sitting down, they're telling you the price of iron rod is not 20 naira, it is now 50 naira. You're actually wondering what happened. How did it become where did the 30 naira go on it? So it's a general thing, and then inflation comes in. Some people pray for inflation, why some people do not pray for inflation. And I mean, the only prayer I always say every time is for us to have a stable economy, and by the grace of God we'll get there. So it's not a bagaboo thing. We'll be going on a quick break, and then when we're right back, we'll continue. Okay, so welcome back to the show, and you can always follow us on our social media platform. On Facebook, it is Lagoon Radio Nigeria. On Instagram and on Twitter, it is Lagoon Radio NG. You can always download the app on Google Play Store and also on Apple Store. And then you can listen to us live on www.lagoonradio.ng. And then, what else do we have? On YouTube, we have LagoonTV. Yes, so interestingly, we have other content. We have the law, we have the IT, we have the afternoon drive, which is always very interesting. You can always, what time is it? 1 to 3. Why do we have a producer if it's not to remind us? Okay, and also the L show. And please do not move a dime when I end this show. As I'm putting my full stop, the L show is picking up. She's picking up the pain. I must listen to it because she's my producer, so everybody must listen to it. We have the Ed Talk. We also have the marriage. And no, it's family. It's family. Then if I will be, I'll beat you. It's family matters. And also, which one is that one that Shabby stood? Movie. Maybe people are not nice.
See as they look you with one eye.
Okay, now so yes, we have a lot of content on Lagoon Radio for your consumption. Then let's go back to we're talking about real estate and inflation. Yes, it's pretty interesting. Like the inflation is something like economists. Yes, the people that do economics are economists. They actually focus on it, and then there's one they call the transitory inflation, and they say it leads to permanently higher rate of inflation in the future through its influence on expectations. In simple terms, this process works through wages, households facing an increase in the cost of goods and services they consume, demand higher wages to ensure that their standard of living does not decline over time. This will be based on their expectations of price rises in the future, but because this is an unknown factor that lean heavily on the current rate of inflation to inform those expectations. So the longer that inflation remains elevated, the more these expectations becomes entrenched. Business facing higher labor costs raise their prices by a similar amount to retain profit margins. The result is a wage price spiral that is self-fulfilling. Okay, policymakers have in a role by controlling these expectations by targeting an explicit rate of inflation in the future, assuming central bank will do all in its power to meet its inflation target. Then it follows that expectations of future inflation should converge towards this target. Indeed, in the last 3 decades, one of the successes of the major central bank is that by switching to inflation targeting, expectations have become anchored and inflation has been kept under control. But recently, expectations have been creeping up. Okay, so this report is by Estate Intel. Estate Intel is a real estate and what do we call it? Real estate market analysis company. They do more of data analysis, market reports, and all of that. Don't let me call your name again. See, I'm just looking at me like, oh, what's all this? Real estate and economics, we are brothers and sisters. We are not just in the health sector like that. We are brothers and sisters. We follow each other, so we know about it. So as we're saying, so the question now becomes: how long can we be realistic? How long can we realistically describe the inflation as a transitory, and what could be the catalyst for a prolonged period of elevated inflation? If we stop believing that central bank can control inflation, then we no longer have the future anchor on which to base expectations. And this is the crux of the debate, with the Ox arguing that central bankers are too obsessed with the transitory narrative, and that once they act, it will be too little and too late, with inflation becoming pervasive and ingrained in the human psyche. For investors, inflation is bad as it erodes the present value of future returns on any investment, like I mentioned earlier on. So assets that can provide a protection against inflation will be particularly attractive in the current environment. Equities, for example, generally perform well during periods of rising prices, giving companies' earnings adjust to the underlying rate of inflation, assuming firms have some pricing power. Fixed income products, on the other hand, which typically pay a fixed rate of interest on the principal investment, will perform poorly as the purchasing power of that future income stream declines. The conventional wisdom on real estate follows that it is a good edge against inflation. This is based on the assumption that income growth will adjust to higher prices while valuations will increase rising income growth and higher replacement cost. In theory, this should be relevant regardless of the cost of inflation. If higher prices are underpinned by stronger economic growth, that is demand full inflation, then this should support real estate demand and strengthen landlords' pricing powers. Or if it is underpinned by increased cost of labor or raw materials, cost pushed inflation, then it will restrict supply. Higher inflation will also erode the real value of any debt used to finance investment. Okay. However, the evidence is still relatively mixed. In particular, the inflation edging properties of real estate generally arise through its strong link to economic growth, that is the demand pull inflation. However, owners are more exposed to the risk of cost push inflation, which best characterizes the current environment, which can lead to slower economic growth and therefore reduced occupier demand. Cost push inflation is also hard to predict, often driven by unforeseen environmental, geographic, geopolitical, or economic shock. So with all of this English that I've been speaking, what the report is trying to say is that we're at this stage where you cannot predict what the future is with the present economic environment that we have. So it is always best to speak to an economist, let me say, or if you have a financial advisor. And I mean not people that tell you that they are financial advisors. Make sure that you're actually speaking to someone that is reliable, you can count on him, and it's not someone that will just tell you, oh, I know it, I know what you're talking about. Yes, it's not this Abijo, or is it not it's not Oniru. It's a very good one. No, please speak to someone that would advise you properly. Not and again, when someone tells you I'm a realtor, I'm a financial advisor, I'm a real estate consultant, and they're adding everything together, please be sure of what exactly they are telling you to do. Okay, so we'll be going on a quick break. Lastly, okay, welcome back, and as we talk about as we round up, Jennifer just distracted me. As we round up the talk on inflation and real estate, like I said earlier, real Lord Jesus, inflation is something that affects every country. It's not just Nigeria. We have it in UK, we have it in America, we have it in Australia, we have it in Russia, we have it in Ukraine. So it's not peculiar to Nigeria, but the effects due to our economic environment is what we're talking about now. So basically, I would say investing in real estate is a very good idea. It's a very good, in fact, it is something everyone should do. But make sure that you've taken your financial advice, and then you've done your background check, you've gone to do the check. Like, now a lot of people are complaining of, oh, I thought I bought in this so land, but they're giving me this so land. So make sure you've done all the check, you've checked everything, every list, you've checked everything, cross checked it, you've gone to the Ministry of Land House and land house and planning. You've gone to everywhere. You've done every check that you have to do. You contacted your surveyors. That's if you're buying land. Contacted your lawyers and everything. Then you cross check. So inflation is it's what I understand is inflation is just a period of time, and then once your economic environment is very good, it's not going to affect you so badly. So for instance, you're buying something of 5 million naira now, your ROI would still grow. It's not like it's not going to grow. It's going to grow, but due to that economic environment, it might defer to when the inflation is not eating as bad as what it should be. So yes, the effect could be diverse because if you buy a property at 50 million naira, by the time you want to resell it, you could just step up to 52 million naira in 5 years. So those are the effects of inflation and then the economic growth, because basically by the time we have our dollar that is back to probably 300 or 200 naira, is it naira? It's naira. So instead, as against the 400, 500 we have now, so if it has reduced to 500 naira, 200 naira, by the time you're calculating it, the price would still be at par with what you bought it at. So that's where inflation comes in, and then when you're not having a stable economic environment, that's where the effects come in. But this is just an introduction to the topic, because we're going to have an economist and real estate advisors as our guests. One is coming in next week, so make sure you actually come. You sit, take your pen, you hold your Bible, and then you're taking notes of what they are coming to come and teach us, because it's very important. This is just an introduction to give us an idea of what they're going to be talking about, the effects of real inflation on the economy and every other thing that we would want to know. So yes, it's going to be a wrap for the day, and thank you so much for listening. Thank you for tuning in. I hope we're able to get one or two things, because next week is going to be a cooler load, and then everyone has to grab one thing or the other. My name is Ariola Olumakaiye Ajenoku, and then I'm your host. You can always follow us on our social media platform. On Facebook, it is Lagoonradio Nigeria. On Instagram and on Twitter, it is Lagoonradio NG. And you can always download the app on Google Play Store and also on the Apple Store. And what else do we have? YouTube, LagoonTV. And you can always listen to us live, stream live on www.lagoonradio.ng. And then 6 p.m. is when we have the Lent program. So you can always tune in to listen to it. Have a beautiful day. Happy International Women's Day to every woman out there. Have a nice day. Bye.